Hi, my name is Prashant Warier. I am co-founder and CEO of qure.ai. Why AI is needed in healthcare? If you look at the data that we are collecting today, there is so much data about us that is being collected. We are taking so many tests. I mean, there is so much information on the internet. There is our phone collecting health information. There are Fitbits and other devices. So there is a lot of data that we are collecting about individuals, and it's a lot of data that a human being cannot process. So that is where AI comes in, and AI can process huge amounts of data in a very short amount of time. So that is a need for AI in healthcare, and specifically in radiology, which is the domain that we operate in at Cure. Radiology, if you look at, for example, the US, they have about 35 to 40,000 radiologists for a population of about 300 million people. India has about 1.4 billion people, and we have one-third the number of radiologists that US has. So what that means is you don't get a radiologist to go and live out of a rural part of the country and read scans there. So most of those places are underserved. We don't get reports on time. Patients are not getting their radiology reports. They're not treated on time. They're waiting for the radiology reports. And that is where AI can come in and improve the quality of care for a lot of the underserved parts of the country. So when it comes to teaching and building AI algorithms to interpret radiology scans, right? I think the first thing that I like to point out is that it's a very difficult task. The task of identifying an everyday object like a cup on an image is something that even a 3-year-old child can do, right? But for somebody to read a scan, read an X-ray or a CT scan, that requires about 30 years of training. They have to go through high school, a medical degree, and a radiology specialization, and that is when they are trained to be able to read that scan. And now we are teaching algorithms to automatically do that, be able to interpret an X-ray or a CT scan within seconds using algorithms, and that is a very difficult task. And so we embarked on that difficult task about 7 years ago. And not only us, I mean multiple organizations embarked on that journey to use AI to make radiology more efficient, make radiology reporting faster, and improve the quality of care. And coming to the challenges that you encounter when you build something like this, right? So when you're building AI for regular images, there are millions, probably billions of such images on the internet. There are so many different places where you can download them, you can train these algorithms. Getting access to radiology data is very hard. And that is something that we worked on at Cure. We worked on significantly in the first couple of years to get access to a large amount of data so you can train quality algorithms. Second is, like I said, detecting something abnormal on a scan is a extremely difficult task. It requires a huge amount of training. And specifically, if you look at it on a scan, I mean, maybe there are 4 or 5 pixels that might not be right, which is a small nodule on a scan, and that makes that scan abnormal. So typically, when you are looking at everyday images, you have a large dog or a cat, and you're able to identify that. But when you translate that to medical imaging, you're talking about a few pixels being different, and that is why something is called abnormal. So again, the problem is so much more difficult because you're trying to find the differences in a very small part of that particular image. So that increases the difficulty of training these algorithms. So when I think about opportunities for AI in radiology, I think about tuberculosis. So tuberculosis is still a massive problem in the low and middle income countries of the world. There are about 11 million TB patients every year in these geographies. And typically, these are in some of the poorest parts of the world with the least amount of access. And what is missing in all these places is the access to radiologists. And specifically, I'll talk about one of our customers now, but how they operated a few years back, right? So this is a program in Philippines, and they have mobile vans which are doing community screening in multiple parts of the country. So they would start from Manila, and these vans will go out into the community in different parts of the country and screen people there. And they would travel around for a few weeks and come back to Manila. And the van itself has an X-ray system within the van, so people can come in, take an X-ray, and get screened. But unfortunately, they don't have a radiologist within the van. So what used to happen is that patients take an X-ray, and they only get a report once the van goes back to Manila and all the X-rays are sent to a radiologist for interpretation. So it took about 2-3 weeks, sometimes even 4-5 weeks to get an X-ray interpreted. And you're talking about a TB patient who is spreading TB to others while they are waiting for their diagnosis to come through. And that is where AI can play a role. Can AI actually interpret that scan faster and provide a faster intervention, faster treatment for that patient? That is one opportunity. A second area of opportunity is in stroke. So typically stroke patients have to wait for, you take a CT scan or a CT angio for patients who are suspected of stroke, and you have to wait for hours to get that CT scan read by a radiologist. And in that time, the patient is losing brain cells. So can we get that scan interpreted faster so you can start treatment for that stroke patient? The third opportunity is around lung cancer. Can you diagnose lung cancer early using AI? So there are multiple opportunities that are there for AI in radiology. So I have been a practitioner of data science and AI for the last 23 years, back when there was even no field called data science. And I've been building algorithms to optimize and to predict systems for a long time. And I worked in various fields from trucking to retail to fashion to advertising. And with Cure in 2016, there was this opportunity to apply AI to radiology imaging. And unlike my work in the past, which was making people click on more ads or to buy more products, this was actually a much more altruistic use case, and quite excited about building Cure back in 2016. And when we started, I think the basic, like I spoke about some of the problems that we identified. We said, can we interpret chest x-rays? Can we interpret head CT scans to diagnose tuberculosis, to diagnose stroke, to diagnose lung cancer? So we started with these use cases. And typically, when you build AI, the first thing you have to do is to get a lot of data, because without data, any AI that you develop is not really going to be very accurate. So our first order of business was to collate a large database of images, and typically you only need anonymized data, so you don't need any patient identifiers to train these algorithms. So we collected a lot of data, we built these algorithms, we worked with some of the top academic institutions in the world, from Harvard Med School to Erasmus University to Mayo Clinic, to publish and validate the efficacy of our algorithms. And then we went about getting the regulatory clearances to be able to deploy these solutions on the field. So even though what we build is only a software, it's an AI software which can automatically interpret a radiology image. The input is a radiology image, the output is a report, but it still classifies under a medical device. It's a software as a medical device, and you have to get regulatory clearance in multiple geographies. You have to get an FDA clearance or a CE marking or a CDSCO clearance in India. So we went about getting those clearances before we could deploy these solutions in multiple geographies. Coming back to the problems that I spoke about, where the opportunity existed for AI in healthcare, if you look at tuberculosis, now we are deployed across 30 to 35 countries in about maybe 700, 800 sites, where we are screening for tuberculosis, and we are providing an automated report to a screening camp within a minute of the X-ray being taken. So think about, I spoke about this taking 2-3 weeks to more than maybe sometimes 4-5 weeks, and that is happening within a minute now using AI. So patient can come in, get an X-ray, report comes in, AI report comes in, and they get treatment the same day. And all this happened because we built the AI, and also the WHO endorsed the use of AI and said that AI can be a full replacement to a human reader in these under constrained settings. And so that helped us to scale and to really create impact using our AI products.